Hello everyone, I am Tacit, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War event objectives for the Spring into the Holidays event, in which the returning troop of the Spring Emissary is re-added to the game. This is actually the first time we've had a repeat troop since 2014. So it's been a while. But anyways, hope you all had a wonderful Christmas, wonderful holiday. Sorry the video is a little bit late. We should hopefully be back to normal schedule by sometime next week after New Year's and everything. But hope all you guys been enjoying the holidays. Anyways, let's go into the things. Even though this is a very tame week as far as events, a few interesting things still ended up ultimately happening. But this is not one of them. It is a good time to go and stock up on green-blue arcanes, but this is a returning troop. They haven't done this since the game basically launched in 2014, so I don't think there's ever been a single situation in like 9 years where they've done this, but it's mostly because the Kingdom ended getting delayed, so a lot of the stuff that they had planned event-wise got pushed back into next month. So because of that, well, I guess we got a repeat event here. So a little unfortunate, but kind of makes sense since the Kingdom did get delayed till early next year, where it was supposed to be like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But anyways, still really good for green-blue arcanes if you need to stock up on them, and if you don't already have the troop, well, you can get it now. As far as the event key drop table, it is associated to Bright Forest, and as far as that drop table is concerned, there's not too much. There's a lot of things that you'd want to get if you're a newer player, as far as this drop table is concerned. So if we click over here, there's a few things that are super noteworthy if you just started the game recently. And the biggest one is Leprechaun. If you have some spare event keys laying around, you should open every last one you have until you go get yourself a Leprechaun if you currently do not have a copy. It is one of the best mana accumulators in the entire game, having Empower into Mass Explode, ends up creating a bunch of explosions when it does its ability, as well as giving you some free gold. And it's just a really great overall mana accumulation for pretty much every single team. Even has a little bit extra green mana there. Absolutely wonderful troop, an absolute must-have. Aside from that, moving up from there, Child of Summer, if you don't already have this, really good for Guild War as well as just general mana accumulation. Converts all brown to red while creating a red storm, unlike some of the other few that we've been getting recently that feed color to themselves. Unfortunately, she does have these two mechanics plus the Empower, but does not use red herself. She's not like a red-yellow or a green-red or something similar. I've been starting to get that mechanic being added to the game. She's not one of them, but she has most of the mechanics that still work out pretty well, and is used very commonly for red mana accumulation. Aside from that, really great, once again, early game kind of option into mid game. Queen Netanya, still one of the better Fairy Fire options in the entire game, even though there are things that do it a little bit different than her. She's still one of the most consistent ways of actually still applying Fairy Fire. She deals a bunch of damage to all enemies with a really good boost ratio based on all red enemies and allies. And of course, that also includes herself, and she's gaining 4 additional damage for each one. So you're normally going to have like 2 or 3 on your team. Obviously, the enemy's going to probably have 1 or 2. So you're getting a pretty substantial amount of damage. On average, probably about 20 plus the extra 50% that you get from her Fairy Fire, as that makes all your spells do 50% more damage. And overall, she has a pretty good mana cost to how much damage she does with her full AoE ratio, while also still having an extra turn chance whenever there's 13 plus red. So just a great kind of mid-game, early-game AoE option, especially when you don't have any of the Gem Dragons yet, or Diamantina, or Stellatrix, or Stellarix, I mean, which we still need to cover a video on. Soon, TM. Eventually. But, it's really good prior to having a lot of those options. So if you don't have a lot of the higher rarity options, really great to get. Unfortunately, a lot of the higher rarity stuff, not that useful. As far as things that are not in drop table, this includes the Green Doom, which are only from Green Tower of Doom events. The 4 faction troops, or 4, however many Sunken Fleet currently has. All of those are from the Sunken Fleet faction, the event that we had today, or technically tomorrow by the time this video gets up. So that from that event. With the main noteworthy one from there being Mirage Queen, you can get that whenever. But those are not in drop table. The Star is not in drop table, that's in the Vault Key drop table. And the Green Gem Dragon, which of course is from the Gem Dragon Egg drop table, and not from keys. So you're mostly just doing this if you're a newer player or mid-game player missing either Leprechaun, Summer, Child of Summer, or Queen Netanya. And Queen Netanya, particularly Double Queen Netanya, really useful for quite a few events, both for PvP and just in general this week. So do advise having at least 2 of her if you don't currently have them. And those are pretty much the only reasons you open event keys there if you're just looking to generally upgrade the kingdom. Otherwise, it's a pretty skippable week unless you need those very key options if you happen to still be missing them. Most of them are pretty low rarity, but if you don't have them, they're pretty must-haves, particularly Leprechaun. Anyways, let's go now into guild-related events. We have the Slay Bells events. This one can be very quickly summarized. And don't take Ragnagord. As long as you're not clicking Ragnargord, you are doing this event correctly. Just click any room that doesn't say Ragnargord, and then you just keep clicking the same spot over and over again. You're restricted to green, red, so kind of like a faction-like restriction, and you're allowed to use absolutely anything in green and red, and we'll have a cheaper team when we show it. Obviously, we're just running a Stellarex build here, but obviously whatever you have is your quickest option under green or red. You have infinite loop into either green or the red journey troops. Under the red one, you actually have access to red infinite loop into dragons, so you could do that with any of the gem dragons or anything similar. And of course, as with every color, you have access to Wand of Stars into Diamantina, or if you happen to have it, Wand of Stars into Stellarex. So all really, really great options. And we have Megavore here just for a little bit of armor tier. Not really that needed, but is an option. This especially depending on what you have. And of course, you still have like the basics like Queen Titania and such. Probably the biggest thing happening this week as far as concluding that I definitely would highly advise making sure you finish out is the Sleigh Bells event, or the Spirit of Giving event, I mean. This is the holiday event that we still have going on. Of course, it started last week, and it's still the same as this week. Just use whatever blue teams you were just using, either Truffle Infinite Loop, Beatrix, whatever you want to run for blue. As far as the actual battles, you do essentially 6 per day. You go and get 3 daily, you then spend 50 gems so you can get the additional 3, and this will allow you to buy all the key options. This is Winter Armor, if you didn't already get it last year. 1 of the new Legendary Troop, which will give you 3 copies, and you can use a blue orb to max it. 6 copies of the pet, 5 for 500, which will give you the initial pet max, and then you have to do it 1 additional time for 200, for 700 total, and this will give you the initial pet maxed, as well as 1 copy of the golden pet, so you can later end up maxing it. And aside from that, while not a unique reward, it is generally worthwhile to buy the Orb of Power. This costs 800 points and is effectively around 300 to 400 gems, which is super cheap for an Orb of Power. This is particularly useful if you still need Zolgoth, Catharix, and Rage Carandura in that order. However, even if you already have all 3 of them, it's still probably worth getting just to kind of hoard them for any future things that end up utilizing Orb of Power. So I would still advise getting it pretty much regardless, especially if you are missing any of the mythics that actually require Orb of Power in order to craft them. Also, only ever use this to craft things that require Orb of Power. It is very bad value to actually use this to upgrade anything. Anyways, so that event, still the same, though do make sure to be doing that every single day. Do make sure to be finishing that out, especially for all the unique rewards. Otherwise, we don't really know when some of them might be returning. So far, it seems like the armors return every single time, but the golden pets have so far never returned. So if you do kind of want those little cosmetic things, and honestly, the golden bear kind of looks pretty cool. Definitely make sure to do so. So, of course, Tuesday faction event. This one, by the time the video goes up, is probably already over. However, it was, red-blue restriction, pretty similar. It does have the 2 layout, so it actually has 5 faction troops then. But, yeah, it's just pretty straightforward faction event as per usual. You just get your 2 orbs, your 1 vault key, red-blue restriction. Any blue teams you've been running for the other event and everything else, you can pretty much just run for there. I believe you had access to Quick Kill Wayne without Leprechaun as well, so it ended up working out pretty well for it. I believe this team I ended up running for most of the fights there. This Wednesday, we have the Shimmer Scale Egg Pet. This Thursday, we have the Hierophant class. Hierophant, generally an underutilized class, mostly because it's very situational when it is useful. However, it is unique in that it is currently the only hero class that has triple damage burning into a natural cleanse. It does not have stun immunity, but it does have cleanse triple burning. So if they have like freeze and tangle, for example, without stun, so if they're not running elementalists, but they're running like other options with freeze and tangle, stuff like that, could end up being a good counter to that. This is very situational these days because it won't work against elementalists, and elementalist is absolutely everywhere if you're looking at things that do both stun and freeze and everything, because it also has this entangle, freeze, stun, all that. But if you're ever up against just freeze options or just entangle options or something similar, like a Tangleborn or whatever that one thing is with the triple damage entangle, like those kind of teams sometimes don't run it with it. It can sometimes be useful. It's very situational, but it does have that unique cleanse into triple damage burning. Very situational, but it's not a completely useless class. It's a triple damage burning in an oversaturated category that is actually unique enough to occasionally get used, but isn't better than the main triple damage burnings. So for the most part, you can just ignore this class for forever and just get a little bit of XP towards it. You're very rarely going to use it, but it does have its use cases. And this Friday, we have no event, aka an arena event. So very much like just the end of the holidays kind of things. We have a repeat troop. We have the end of the holiday event. It's a lot of repeat stuff. As far as this week is concerned. So a very nice chill week to celebrate the holidays with. And focus more on PvP, because actually, one really big thing that was revealed in PvP, and this is probably the main thing I kind of wanted to go over with this video too. Those are a very brief thing to mention. But 100% confirmed. We kind of already knew this, but this week is the first time we got to see it physically in-game. However, all of the PvP pets are available for silver marks. This is very, 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 very good because that means you no longer, well, we technically already knew we probably wouldn't need to, but you don't have to, 100% confirmed, ever spend your gold marks on these troops. You should never, ever, ever, ever do it to buy these pets. It is a complete waste. They cost effectively 1.5 deed books each, and you should never, ever, ever get them. That would have made them the most expensive pets in the entire game. However, this one we had for gold marks a week or two ago, and now, as you can see, is available for silver marks. Don't have enough for it right now. I'm 250 short. However, once we do have the silver marks for it, we can go get it. And it's not for gold, it's for silver. So that means, yeah, all of them will rotate eventually to silver. And you can simply just get them all from grinding out 1,500 silver marks every single week until you eventually have them all and they add something else to sink silvers in. Otherwise, there's literally nothing else to use them on other than the pets. But yeah, don't ever, ever get these things for gold. The only thing you should ever use your gold marks on are deed books. And that's pretty much the whole list. It's pretty much just deed books. Deed books, maybe shiny keys. But yeah, I would pretty much avoid these two for the most part. While they are good resources, there's just other alternative ways to farm them pretty effectively. Whereas these two, not so much. Especially shiny keys in the current state of the game. They're a relatively new resource. But 100% all in on deed books. Go and you can get up to 3 every single week. However, with the natural amount that you're going to gain, it's more like about 1-ish per week that you're going to be able to earn. However, nonetheless, still just go all in on deed books. It is by far the most useful thing. It is random which one you get. However, any deed book progress to eventually upgrade all the kingdoms in the game or just make more progress on them is very useful, especially with how inconsistent deed book accumulation is. And while we have been getting a drip feed of additional ways to end up getting them, this is yet another method to do so. So definitely make sure to be utilizing them as they're one of the most important currencies currently within the game. And they are by far the most useful thing to end up spending all these gold marks on every single time. So do not ever spend it on pets, simply only spend them on silver. So yes, they are indeed all available for silver, which is a huge confirmation. As, yeah, don't ever spend gold marks on them. They are extremely overpriced if you do so. Anyways, even if you're spending money, you should still go all in on just the deed books. But anyways, so other things. Soulforge. Actually, I don't even think I took a good peek at Soulforge. What do we even have this week? So, as far as Soulforge is concerned, do we have anything here? Chris Crinkle? Oh, the irony. Do you guys remember last year? Anyone who remembers last year knows. But, yeah, there he is. Interesting. Scourge of Honor. Pretty good true damager. Probably one of the better options we actually have this week if you're going to craft something. He's basically Phoenicia, but true damage. Also gains a lot of his mana back. Really good at doing a double cast kill. While we do have better things to do that with these days, like Stellarix, for example, which is basically completely replace Scourge of Honor if you're looking for like a double cast kill kind of team. It is still pretty good if trying to do it specifically off of true damage, so he still has a use case. Though he's in a very similar category to that of Phoenicia in that it's really good what he does, very high amount of damage, full AoE, but there are slightly above categories. His main unique kind of gimmick is that he's really good with true damage builds, but even then, there's still just a lot of other ways to go about it between Beatrix, Weaver, other things that you don't necessarily need him that often, but he's in the same category of Phoenicia if you're looking for a troop in that full AoE, just kind of wipe category. Aside from that, as far as weapons are concerned, let's see, nothing really particularly good. Just the normal stuff we always have here. And just the few coming in. I'm trying to see if there's like any one that's even remote. Oh yeah, Celestial Flask. I was gonna say, I knew there was at least one from Bright Forest that is like semi-relevant. If you're gonna craft any one thing, Celestial Flask. I think this is only the second or third time free-to-play can end up getting it, since the event ends up happening for it. Can't remember how many times it's cycled back, but if you still haven't picked up this thing, it is really good. I personally don't build teams around it most of the time, mostly because I try not to build event-specific weapons into teams, so that's more accessible, because weapons like this only come back around once, twice a year, normally. However, it is really good. It's basically the only viable potion method in the game, for the most part, if you're looking to build like a potion build from that one campaign we had. But anyways, it creates 3 potions. What a potion gem does is when it's destroyed, it creates a bunch of that gem color. So if it's a blue potion, I forget how many, I want to say 4 to 6. I know it's like a different variable number, but it'll end up creating a bunch of whatever that gem is. And with 3 potions, you're almost guaranteed going to gain an extra turn from popping all 3 of those potions. And it creates it for either blue, green, red, yellow, or purple, which is every color except for brown for some reason that I do not know. But what's really relevant is 2 of those colors do include itself, both blue and red. But even if it doesn't, you can just feed into other things on your team, mana accumulate for it, use the auto extra turn that this thing has, and then just kind of go crazy between that and then back into the weapon. Even if it doesn't get all of its mana back, you have cleanse on it, you end up getting, I believe it gets enchant, you end up getting 1 to all allies. It'll probably pop up here in a second, but I believe it gains both enchant and 1 to all allies here. Give 1 to all allies and enchant, right? Pretty sure it has enchant. Wait, does not have enchant? Never mind, it doesn't have enchant. Oh, it does cause bless to itself, though. Interesting. Never mind. Maybe I was just thinking of the cleanse then. But it doesn't have enchant, but it does have the bless and everything else, so it stays kind of safe still. Almost like life and death in a way, just without the durability, but with like all in on mana accumulation and with an extra turn. Well, I guess it's a weird example comparison. Honestly, it's almost more like rope dart, but mana accumulation instead of damage is like a way to kind of look at it. It's basically the mana accumulation of rope darts, I guess. Oh no, it's a weird weapon to compare anything to because it's rather unique. And if you're getting any one thing from Soulforge this week, highly advise getting this. This isn't the good one, right? No, this is the mystic weapon. Yeah, if you're gonna trickster shot's kind of fallen off. I would have advised this in the past, but I don't know, in the current state of the game, it doesn't really scale that well. But yeah, if you're gonna get any one thing from Soulforge this week, definitely Celestial Flask. Really fun weapon to build around. And a lot of cases is actually meta for some teams. It's more of a gimmicky weapon than a like over the top good weapon, but there are some infinite loop teams that do end up utilizing it. So highly advise getting Celestial Flask. It's a fun weapon to mess around with and can help fill a lot of gaps in various teams, especially if you have a lot of destroy and mana accumulation to already utilize the potion gems. Anyways, I guess we get into teams. There's not much to really mention for teams. I will still be doing a separate video for all the PvP teams, mostly because I do want to go over all 20 of them, as we do have a lot of different categories this time around compared to some of the other weeks, while we do some repeats, obviously, like yellow and such. We do have a lot of new categories that we've never seen before, like Monster, Mystic, Blighted Lands. List keeps going. There's quite a few Fae, Sword's Edge, quite a bit of a list. I think even Red is the first time we've actually had Red. So that's like 6, 7 different new ones. So a little bit too many to mention in this video, especially since I want to do a higher and lower rarity. But I will try to make sure that gets out later today. Should definitely have a lot more time now since I won't be busy with the holidays now until like New Year's. So should be able to get that out and go from there. But anyways, let's go over all of the basic teams then for everything that we still have going on this week. Which is, you know what? I keep clicking here trying to get to the teams, but I keep forgetting I can't do that anymore. Anyways, so let's start going over the teams. World event. There's not too many, but all 5 of them will be in the description. So, of course, we already had the faction event go by. It was just red-blue restriction, which is pretty much just standard Rowain without Leprechaun. Anyways, world event. Or Tesla spam. We have ourselves a red-green restriction. This allows you to run quite a few things, most notably Leprechaun. I guess I have Marilith under red if you want to go run it for that. But basically, we're just using Wand into Diamantina, or in this case, Wand into Stellaryx, if you happen to have Stellaryx. Using Megavore for the armor tier, not really needed, but once you get to like the super deep end, it can kind of be helpful to have. He's mostly just here so I can use Megavore for once, because I feel like I never use it. And then just Leprechaun for the mass mana accumulation to get things rolling. Keep in mind, it is really relevant that we have 20% to quite a few things in Bright Forest. The 2 most noteworthy ones that you gain a benefit from it are the Hero class and Queen Titania is her name. Those 2 by far gain the absolute biggest benefit from the current bonus that we have going on this week. For the lower rarity team, we can actually end up getting away with a bit of a Rowain quick kill team. Basically a standard Rowain, except with a little bit of a weirder weapon because we are underneath the restriction, and you have to make sure you use a weapon that doesn't block it on blue or green. So for this, I'm just using Summer's Fury. It's an easy weapon that you get automatically just from leveling up your hero, so you'll easily be able to have access to this weapon. We're using Archer for the Green Storm, though you can use something tankier like Elementalist or anything you feel like. However, Archer does have 2 benefits, 50% mana start and Green Storm, which you can use on your Rowain. Just cast Leprechaun, get Rowain up, cast Rowain, win. Rinse and repeat. Next, we have ourselves the Hierophant class event, which Queen Titania is actually so strong this week that we're just doubling up on her. You could offset with a hero if you really wanted to, but I ended up just going double Queen Titania, as Queen Titania is just better than most of what we'll have options for, especially with the 20%, so just doubling up on it. Child of Summer, we're ideally going to be able to cast this and get both of them to full mana instantly while having 13 plus red, so both of them will just auto extra turn. But if you don't have an option like that, just simply cast Leprechaun, that will give you full mana, and then you can just go from there. It can also give you a different chance or a different board setup to try to use the Child of Summer to end up getting her alignment, and it should be a really easy event, one of the quicker ones we've had in a while. And aside from that, the blue teams aren't actually any different. They're actually the same ones we just mentioned last week. Not really any need to change them, unless you feel like it. I guess at the higher range, I guess you could kind of go more insta-kill. However, blue isn't really necessarily a color that has a lot of insta-kill. I guess you could go Iron Gut Zolgoth build and just mana accumulate around that. However, Truffle Infinite Loop is still fine. Obviously, Infinite Loop, so you're not going to really have much issue there. Something like Forest Troll into Double Truffle. Just keep looping it. It might get a little bit slower at the deep end, at which point you could try switching over to insta-kill, but this should be honestly perfectly fine. If you're just going for all unique rewards, this shouldn't fall off at any point, unless you have like really low magic But if you have like middle range magic, high range magic, this should be strong enough the entire time that you're never really going to need a switch, assuming you're just going for all uniques plus power orb. If you're going deeper for some of the other rewards, then you might need a switch, but I'm pretty sure almost no one does that, as there isn't really too many other rewards to get other than all uniques plus power orb as far as that holiday event is concerned. But anyways, guys, that'll wrap it up for now. If you still have any other questions, feel free to leave in the comment section below. PvP teams will be up very soon, and we'll be covering all 20 of those, as most of them have changed. Some of them are still the same. Obviously, we're still going to be running Finesse build. However, there are a lot of new ones this week. I believe 7, if I counted correctly there. So like 7 out of the 10 are all new. So we will have a little bit of a dedicated video on all of those. If you still haven't been doing PvP, still plenty of time to do it throughout the week. You can literally just grind it all out at the end. PvP is not a game mode that punishes you for not doing it daily. I guess fairly early on in the game, the amount of silver marks you can get is a little bit capped, but as long as you're at the, if you were like level 1000 plus when that patch hit, the most recent PvP patch, you're at a rank where you can do infinite of them per day. So there really isn't any amount of daily system with the PvP. You could literally just do it all on like the weekend, and you know, it's like you were doing it the entire week at that point. Like there isn't like a penalty if you don't do like X amount per day. There is a weekly associated to it, obviously, like the 6.5 or 6,500 points every single week and stuff like that. And as well as making ladders, which of course actually have some competition now on the ladders, as pretty much everyone is actually partaking, unlike some of the earlier ladders. As you keep moving up, obviously they're going to keep getting harder as people are increasingly more active, including the leaderboard. However, yeah, still would advise partaking in PvP. A lot of loot to be gained from it. Now that we know that 100% you will not need to go use your gold marks on the pets, that means you're getting 8/10 of a deed book per week just from doing the weekly, which is honestly not bad at all. We don't know if silver marks will ever be used for anything useful other than the pets. However, the gold marks are 8/10 of a deed book every single week. Basically per month, that's going to be what, 3 deed books or so? A little bit more than 3 deed books. So that's pretty good. And that's just the weekly. That's not even counting if you make any top ranks or leaderboard or anything else from that. So really, as well as any other ways that they might be able to add to get them in the future. But just from the weekly alone, that is a lot of deed books over time. So definitely make sure to be using all of them for that, now that we know that we will no longer need it for the pets, as the pets simply just rotate back around into silver. At which point you should get them for silver and never get them for gold, and simply spend all of your golds into deed books, which we'll be doing as soon as we go and claim our other ones that we go claim 3 at once. You can claim up to 3 per week. While the pets reset per day, the all of the ones in this menu, I believe, reset per week. So you do have to wait till the following week to get your next deed books. But if you're not spending gold marks on them, you're never going to reach that cap. I guess maybe on shiny keys you will. However, on deed books, you will actually never reach the limit of how many you can end up doing per week. So just from the natural amount, at least in the current state of the game, as there's just not enough to be able to earn to be able to do so. But anyways, guys, I'll wrap it up for now. Thank you so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like on the video. Helps out a lot and is greatly appreciated. Hope you all enjoyed your holidays, as well as have a happy new year if I don't see you by then. We'll definitely have videos up by then, but have a wonderful new year, and I'll catch you guys soon. Goodbye, everyone. Thanks for watching.